Test 1, 2. GoPro, where are you, GoPro? This is crazy. I use GoPros now. I mean, you do it through your phone, and if I'm doing a solo performance somewhere, I set these GoPros up, but just keeping track of them. It's like always. There's a big thing you learn in filmmaking. There we go. Oh, by the way, hi everybody. Welcome to another Director's Commentary. Oh, there I am. Hang on. Oh, why does it say preview not available? Well, I think you can see me up there. So that's cool. As I said, welcome to another Director's Commentary. And let's see what I've got to do here. If I'm a little bit off, it'll be because this is like becoming a thing now. I think the last time I did one of these, I had just come out of my colonoscopy and was high on ketamine. That was fun. This time, I've just come back from a foot operation. Oh, man. You know you're old when my two big toe knuckles, after years and years and years of smashing them on roots and rocks and, portaging canoes and so on, and sandals and everything, every time that would happen when I was younger, even in my 20s, I'd smash my toe really hard. I'd go, oh, man, that's going to be arthritis when I'm 60. Well, guess what? Yeah, both of them have these big bone spurs. In fact, Luke, I'm going to send you the photo here. Here's the bone spur. So it's on both toes. So what the guy did this morning was, if this was my toe, he actually went in and with the spur that goes over top of the joint, carved that away, plus carved out a divot in this bone and then a divot in this bone, and leaving this place so that my toe can now bend upwards again without the bone spur stopping it and causing excruciating pain. And I'm still climbing mountains and doing all those sorts of things. So I thought, all right, let's try it. So we did the left foot first. That's what we did this morning. So getting back to my initial introduction, if I'm a little loopy, it's because I'm just coming off of the general anesthetic. But I've been doing everything right. Put my foot up. Okay, it's up. It's time to ice it. I'm going to ice it. So you know me. I just do everything right when it comes to listening to the doctor. And I thought, what a great time to do a director's commentary. I got to sit still anyway and put my foot up. I've got a nice smoothie because it's morning. Ish. And of course, I'm following all of the protocols, such as, you can't drink any alcohol. I took my ibuprofen a little while ago, and I am not going to take the Vicodin. I mean, I say that now, but I'm just never really big on the painkillers. I try to go without if I can. But I took the ibuprofen because that'll keep the swelling down. The ice is on there. And, yeah. And, this is it's beer. It's not alcohol. In fact, and they don't sponsor me, my favorite beer of all time, right there, man. It's not going to focus. There we go. That is my favorite beer of all time. You want to buy me a beer? Buy me a case of that someday. Love that. And they have a double chocolate Valentine's Day stout that they do. Now it's out all the time, but I like this one better still. All right, let's go, guys. This is the Director's Commentary, and I'm in a tank top simply because it's like 100,000 degrees outside right now. But I'm ready to go on this thing. And where are we at? We're doing the last two of the Survivorman series. And next up, because I already started them, yes, I am eventually going to do the Beyond Survival series for you, but next up after this, we are going to kick into the Bigfoot series. There's a couple that are already up on this channel right now. Go to the Director's Commentary playlist. You'll find them because I had started them a long time ago, but I'm going to get back in the game, finish off all of the Bigfoot series with a Director's Commentary. These are my last two Survivorman Directors Commentaries. I don't have my son Logan with me. He's up in the Vancouver and Victoria area, kicking ass as a paramedic. So I'm going to do this one on my own. But this is Survivorman and Son, Wabakimi. As always, guys, if you don't like me interrupting and you just want to watch the Survivorman and Son Wabakimi all the way through, well, good, you can see it right there. I think it's in Season 4 in the playlist, and you just watch that. What I suggest is watch this now, and then later on come back and watch that fully, and you'll have so much more of an understanding of it. All right, let's watch Survivorman and Son Wabakimi, director's commentary coming at you. And thank you to Rogue Ales for not sponsoring me with my chocolate nitro stout. Don't tell my wife that I'm having that beer while I'm on medication like this. And don't do that at home, kids. It's highly advised against. Okay, let's go.
This is not fiction. This is fact. Well over 50% of all people that get lost in the wilderness are either hunters or anglers. And like all survival situations, it happens so easily. The weather might be great, the day's warm and sunny and the wind light. You've got a good boat and fishing tackle, and you'll only be gone a few hours. And yet, in one instant, one turnaround of circumstances, a situation can turn into an ordeal, and sometimes even a nightmare of epic proportions. My son Logan and I are putting ourselves into a scenario that happens for real every year.
This is a
You know, oops. Oh, shoot, I just hit the wrong button. Hang on. Okay, there's pause. Found it. As a filmmaker or an actor, but when you watch your stuff back, man, you really do notice all the nuances of the mistakes you made, the little things. And don't get me wrong, when I watch my, and the only time I do this is for you guys. I haven't seen this show in years, like always, same old story. When I watch my own stuff back, I am proud. I'm proud of the way most of them worked out and how they played, but you still see these little things. And I could hear when I said of something of epic proportions, what I actually said was airpic. And that's going to bug me for the rest of my life. Okay, let's keep watching.
In this case, with my son, so it's a father and son trip.
Okay, so why do this? Number one was Logan wanted to do another Survivorman with me, and it was really him saying, Dad, without saying it this many words, I want to get back on the horse. Well, let's get out there, let's do this, and I think in a way he might have felt like he wanted to do it now that he's healthy and strong. And so I thought, because I love to play out survival stories, why not play out the story of two men in there just going fishing, and it could be really simple. Run out of gas. The engine won't start. A lot of times, and fishermen and women, anglers, will say that they know how far. They go for miles and miles and miles to that favorite walleye hole for fishing. And kind of anything could happen. And that's what this was based off of.
Plan the day. It's the big, long day. Boat for quite a few hours down the lake. Maybe even pack a lunch. End up at a set of rapids like this. Spend the whole day fishing.
Got one.
Look at that. Yay! Then you go to leave. And either your motor won't start, or you're out of gas.
By the way, shout out to my son. He is an excellent fisherman.
Now you're in a survival situation. And that's the case for Logan and I. We're stranded at the bottom of the lake, miles from safety, miles from our cabin, here in northern Ontario.
And where are we? We're in Wabakimi, Ontario. We're outside of the park there. If you ever get a chance, it is God's country. It is beautiful. You've got to go to check out Wabakimi Provincial Park and do canoeing. Go up there, go fishing. The fishing's ridiculous. It's so good. And again, I love playing out this scenario of everything's kind of normal. Maybe we got a couple snacks with us. We're just going for the day of fishing, right? But engine won't start.
The camera that followed us in this far leaves us here alone. And in 5 or 6 days, a plane will come for us, and we'll hope to signal them from wherever we end up.
And where's Logan during all this? As always, is like he's just was so not concerned with the filming, so he's off fishing. He's like, well, I'm like, okay, I got to shoot the opening scene, Logan. I got to present this, Max is here to film it, and I think it was Max Atwood, as well as the other Max, and both Maxes on this, and it's a great story coming up on that. Johnny Asquith was filming here. I can't remember. We'll find out at the end. Maybe Max Atwood wasn't on this one. Maybe it was Johnny Asquith, I think. Brilliant, brilliant shooter. Second unit camera op or director, I'm not sure what the title would be, for none other than Guillermo del Toro. That's how talented Johnny is. Loved working with him. Now that guy can spin a yarn.
There are cabins dotted here and there on this lake, and we need to get to whichever one is closest. But that's many miles away.
So at this point, you just got to put all the realities together. There's no way of paddling ourselves home. Normally, I would say we stop and do all of our assessment check, go through everything we've got. But in this case, because the sun's going down and because there's a ton of firewood, I'm actually going, sort of breaking my...
Fire?
Yeah, get a fire going. And then we can have a big fire going, so we've got it going through the night. What I'm thinking is, why don't you let me get the fire going?
Okay.
Why don't you clean the fish?
That's good.
Good. Okay. Let's do this one.
You know what that is too for me? That's a moment where, and I like explaining it now, where I'm actually doing what I think is the right thing for survival. And going through my kit to do my zones of assessment, it's not the right timing. Why not? Because the sun's going down. What do I need? We need a fire, but more than a fire, we need a ton of firewood to get us through the night. And so I prioritized. And that's a thing. When it's getting late at night, your priority will be staying out of the rain, having shelter potentially, having a big fire going. That's it. That's kind of it. How are you going to make it through the night? That becomes your priority when the sun is setting.
Well, Logan works on the fish. The reality is that we're in it's not an established campsite, but it's a place that people do frequent to fish. There's even actually in the fire pit, there's a grate and an old frying pan, so it doesn't make it not be a survival situation. It still is, but at least we have a few advantages. And I've got something that I'm pretty sure I can start a fire with, because we do not have matches and we do not have a lighter, but we can make a spark. We've got strikers.
Found this big old frying pan just around the campsite, so I'm gonna use it to cook up the fish with.
We took criticism for that. Oh yeah, you guys found a frying pan, as if. Are you kidding me? Anybody who's ever gone fishing, you know what you find at the shore lunch spots. There's always spots that, as fishermen, we would call them shore lunch areas. And invariably, there's always stuff left behind. Number one, and unfortunately, here's a little nasty shout out in a negative way. If you're ever going to find a pile of garbage, yeah, sorry, but it's generally always left behind by anglers, by people going fishing. They show up in motorboats. They're not even paddling, and they're the ones leaving behind the cans of propane and garbage and junk. You'll never see a canoeist do that. They pack out what they pack in. Suffice it to say, they also, especially if they might have been camping, leave behind things that are usable. I found not one frying pan. I found lots of frying pans and pots and cups and ground sheets for tents and tarps and rope all the time. So the criticism that I saw every once in a while on a post about you staged the frying pan. No, in fact, I would have happily staged it for this. I didn't have to. It was actually there. Like we pulled up and we're going to go shoot the opening scene. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a frying pan here. Well, leave that, because I'm going to play that into the scene.
Too many bugs.
Often what I find is the best thing in a situation like this is to get Logan doing something that's familiar to him, that's feels comfortable, like cleaning the fish. Because in a survival situation, if you can feel comfortable and do things that are familiar, psychologically you're just a little stronger. It's a lot to think about when you find yourself in a survival ordeal.
Someday, Logan...
That, I still go back to that point a lot, that giving yourself a sense of familiarity is really important in survival. When everything's unfamiliar and you're scared, you're cold, you're wet, you're tired, it's a hell of an ordeal. And I go back to a silly moment. I've said this before as an example, but there's an old movie called Oh God, and it stars George Burns and John Denver. And George Burns is God. And when John Denver, the character he's playing, comes to the reality, the realization that it is actually God, I don't know the scene verbatim, but God says to him,
Feeling a little strange, huh? You know what's good for that? Shaving.
Shaving?
Sometimes when you don't feel normal, doing a normal thing makes you feel normal.
You know, when you do something that, you know, you're familiar with, you're comfortable with, it'll I'm paraphrasing hugely here, it'll ground you. It'll make you feel okay. You can get a handle on the situation.
And may find himself in a survival situation where all the familiarity is absent, like in a jungle or a desert. For now, as his father and the one with the skills, my job will have the added pressure of keeping his motivation up and keeping him from becoming too casual about survival, because that's when bigger problems can strike.
Well, now that's vital and true. On the bigger sense of it, the minute you get cocky is the minute you run into trouble. And what I would say often, like in a keynote, I'd say, you know, if someone says to you, okay, I've got this. Well, that's different. That's like speaking with confidence, and maybe they've got a plan. But when someone says it this way, I got this. I'm Survivorman. What could go wrong? A lot. Now you're in trouble. That's how Norway happened to me. That's how heat stroke in the Kalahari happened to me. That's how being stuck in and very worried about being in a tiger zone in India, it was all me being confident, and, well, more than confident, I like that, but being cocky, which is the next layer, the next level of confidence that you shouldn't slip into. Well, this is my son Logan. He's relying a lot on me, and I don't want him to. I want him to stay on edge and controlled and in a survival mindset. But, you know, he's going with Dad to film a show, and it's going to be fishing. So how do I bring him into the intensity of a true survival situation?
This place might get used a lot, but I think it only gets used a lot in the spring. It's been a while since people have been here for sure.
A nice campsite is one thing when you're on a well-stocked camping trip. But when you're stuck there, days away from safety, it might as well be in a jungle. Survival is still about adapting and using whatever means you can to make it through.
We've got some bug spray. The bug spray is highly flammable. So theoretically, a spark plus a highly flammable substance should equal a fire. I want to do this quick before the spray evaporates.
Bug spray quickly runs out, which is why I usually suggest bug jackets and screens for an emergency kit.
Whoa! Nice! That worked like a charm.
I should repeat that point there. I'm not big on bug sprays at all. They're highly toxic. Just try touching the rubber on your camera with bug spray on your fingertips. It dissolves it. It's gross. Bug jackets, another story altogether. Shout out to the guy who invented the original bug shirt. I think he's still in business. Quickly did he get ripped off by all the other brands that saw how successful he was. But there was a dude in Ontario, Canada, started with his company called the Original Bug Shirt. It was phenomenal. And like happens so often, people see you doing something really cool and really great, and then they copy it. Only it's never as good the second time around. It's never as good as the original.
See that look? Yeah. Awesome. Beautiful. Man, that bug spray took that spark, bang, like it's like gasoline. It's good to know. It's kind of dangerous.
We have the advantage of starting off with the day's catch. The hope is we won't be skunked when it comes to fishing for survival.
And yes, as you could see, there was also a grill there. Every shore lunch area has a grill left behind. I would venture to say at least 90% of them. And every angler out there is going, yeah, true.
Too often, lost victims waste their first 24 hours being complacent, when in fact, they should kick right into action. On the other hand, it's good to settle and get organized before making any rash moves.
Now, really setting up for survival would have meant keeping all of the parts of the fish and, but two people lost like this, they're not thinking that way. They're just saying, oh, let's have some fish, we'll get home tomorrow. That's what they're thinking.
All right, fire. Heat up our fish, and the sun's dropping down. The only thing I'm really worried about now is a really bad night of mosquitoes. I think it's better for Logan and I just to eat this up now. Could invite problems with bears. We don't usually have any issues with bears or any trouble, but we've got a lot of fish smells around the campsite. Wow, that's good. Nice job.
My instincts always tell me to immediately gather as much information about my situation as possible. It's not the same for Logan. He hasn't honed any survival instincts that he can draw upon yet. So I need him to pay attention to what knowledge I'm looking to gather.
You know, what's interesting is if you're a lost hunter, not always, or if you're a lost angler, but not always, you tend to be pretty well equipped, especially if you're fishing and you're fishing from a boat. You know, that's why the hatchet. So I was allowing in this scenario to have the types of items that two guys going fishing would have. And that way, okay, but what's it like if you are stuck for a week with those items? Same thing happened up in the Arctic. I mean, I love the fact that, two facts here, that A, I had all of my fishing gear because I was a stranded fisherman, but B, that it's still, even with that, to show what can possibly happen, what's true here, it still took me 4.5 days to catch my first fish. So even though you have the gear, doesn't mean it's going to save you.
We need to do zone of assessment number 2. What are we carrying with us?
Right. Our hatchet.
So that hatchet right there, have to give it up back when I had a relationship with Camillus knives, which I pulled out on because they just kept wanting to go to, they wanted to make everything in China. They wanted it to be cheap. You know, I just, enough, you know. And so I pulled out of that. But I got to say, that particular hatchet, I didn't design that at all. Rick from Camillus did, and it was actually awesome. I hated the machete. The machete they designed was absolutely terrible. I don't recommend you use the Camillus Survivorman machete. It's not worth the weight. But that hatchet, that's pretty cool. A weird, freakish, techie design. I do love it. And, you know, eventually at some point, very soon actually, I have a garage full of leftover merchandise, swag, if you will, including some of the Survivorman survival kits that I designed, but also those hatchets there and some other knives. And at some point I'm going to do some kind of contest or something that will auction all of that stuff off. Perhaps it might be linked to an upcoming, that would be the GoPro dying on me. Oh, I'm not going to tell you what it's connected to. But I have an upcoming Kickstarter campaign about to happen for a very big new film. That's my teaser for the moment.
Handsaw. One of these travel thermoses. Unfortunately, it's all rubber on the outside. So I'm a big fan of bringing metal cups. You can boil in them. We've each got a seat pillow from the boat. Full set of fishing tackle, which is great. And there's a few things in there I think we can use. Like there's some light sticks, right? Yep. There was the bug spray that you had. And then that's it. There's nothing left. There's no bars to ration out. There's no sandwiches to cut up. There's no cookies to give out or to count. This was our day pack. We had some paper towels.
Now, why did I do that? Why was there no food? I just thought sometimes, you know, guys think they're just going for a little bit of fishing. They don't take any extra food along with them. They don't take a power bar, or they just forget it. I thought, let's not do that. Let's not have food. Let's push our lack of food envelope and make it so that we are going to need to catch fish. We're going to run out of energy real soon. That was sort of the scenario that I set up here. I'm guessing that was the battery. Had to be the battery. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go change the battery in that GoPro. Hey everyone, allow me to interrupt myself. I don't really like hawking merchandise and swag, but you guys do ask all the time where you can get certain items. For example, check this out, Hennessy hammock. I put a lot of time and effort into designing this hammock with Hennessy. It's their top hammock. It's an amazing, beautiful, comfortable hammock to enjoy for all of your adventures out there, so just check it out. It's got a full-size tarp, which is a big thing for me. It's got insulation, and I love it. So I've got the Hennessy hammocks. Of course, for years I've been in a phenomenal relationship with Hella of Norway, Hella Knives. And this is our signature knife, of course, the Tamagami. These knives are handmade. In fact, I've been there to this very ancient factory where I don't know how many, it's well over 100 years that they've been operating, and every single handle is handmade. All of the grinding, everything is done by hand. And these knives are absolutely beautiful. I also now have a brand new relationship, and you will see these items, new foraging tools that I'm designing with LT Wright Knives out of Ohio. And also, Chef Paul Rogalski of Wild Harvest has the signature Chef Paul Rogalski kitchen knife collection. Those are a big thrill to me, to have these beautiful items that we spent years designing, and I still have them available for you. However, if you want to go more the route of just enjoying the Survivorman legacy, if you will, then of course, go to my website, lestroud.ca, go to the shop page. Right there, you've got everything. All the swag, all the merch, such as my manual on survival. This is if you want to get into survival, this book is meant to be a way to walk you through step by step, because I deal a lot more with concepts than I do with specifics, because that's really important. Once you understand the concepts of fire by friction, for example, you can do it depending on where you are, because I can't give you the advice on how to do it here in Canada and hope that it's also going to work down in the jungle. Things are different. So I've always been very proud of this book, Survive. So that is my survival manual. Also, if you weren't aware, I've got the book Will to Live. I wrote this book well, it's kind of for a lot of fun. I took my 10 favorite survival stories, such as Chris McCandless Into the Wild or the Robertson family and the life raft, and I basically dissect them with this book. I tear apart the story, I go through everything, and I even give them a little bit of a grade on how I thought they did. So I really enjoyed writing this book. It's a real easy read, it's a fast read, but I think there's a lot of insight there for you into all of these different examples of people who have either survived or perished. Speaking of books, so honored, so thrilled, so proud that Wild Outside, my first children's book, has won the Yellow Cedar Award, Best Nonfiction Children's Book in Canada for ages 7 to 14. I tell stories from Survivorman, lessons learned during those expeditions and adventures, and there are even activities they can do in the out of doors. So there you go. My new book, my children's book, Wild Outside, Around the World with Survivorman, has just won the Yellow Cedar Award, and I'm up for another award yet. And in keeping with stuff that's going on right now, we are also up for an award for our Season 1 recipe book from the series Wild Harvest. And if you've never caught the series Wild Harvest, check this out.
Woohoo! Beautiful little rainbow. Dinner.
This perhaps is the most incredible kitchen scenario I've ever had.
When you start getting involved in local foraging and bringing the ingredients home and playing with them in the kitchen, can you create a dish where the domestic ingredients don't overshadow the wild ingredients?
Hey there! Oh! Go on!
Now the job's getting fun.
This dish is a showcase of how great these foraged ingredients come together.
It's the best when it's its own flavor. When you're making something with a wild edible, you're nailing it and not losing the wild flavor.
Sometimes it is about the ingredients.
Tell me that doesn't look awesome. 2 seasons right now, 26 episodes. In the United States, it's on PBS stations. You can also get it on this YouTube channel. In Canada, Cottage Life TV. In Sweden and Norway, on Matt Cannellan. It's on National Geographic. Asia, which includes China and India. So my Wild Harvest series is playing around the world now, and we, with every single season, create a recipe book based on the recipes that we show you in the actual shows themselves. So that's Wild Harvest. And of course, if you want the DVD, you can get that on this website as well, lestroud.ca. And let's not forget too, that I'm a musician. The CDs themselves are available on the website. The next release will be the re-release of the Mother Earth album on vinyl. But go on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, or on my website. You can go to the shop page, you can pick up all of my CDs. So this is the last one. This is my 20th anniversary selection. Check it out. Every film I've ever made, 76 films in all of the Survivorman, Bigfoot, Beyond Survival, music documentaries, one-off films such as the award-winning La Loche about the school shooting up in Canada and a healing canoe trip. This is my 20th anniversary, 76 films. And people that have picked this up have raved about it. And I'm really proud that I can say I've got 20 years of anything, to be honest with you. That's available for you as well on that Les Stroud shop page. Okay, that's me hawking my stuff. Back to the video.
Logan's got a cup too. There's your cup, by the way. And unfortunately, it's also plastic. Huge bonus. We've each got rain gear and rubber boots. Brought all that stuff with us again, just expecting a day out, not knowing what we were going to get weather-wise. So I think that's about it.
Finding ripe fruits or berries or any kind of plants is completely dependent upon the luck of the timing in a survival ordeal. I often hear the comment, Why didn't you just gather berries? But most wild berries are only ready for 2 weeks out of the year. Fortunately for Logan and I, we're here at just the right time, in the middle of black bear territory, with 1 million ripe berries.
That's incredible, because this is enough to actually make a difference for us, you know? It's not just a quick munch. And we can travel tomorrow with them. Let's go. Let's do this. Right time of year to get lost.
And that's a big thing, man. Because, yeah, berries are available for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 on the outside. So we happen to be there during blueberry season. And, yeah, so that's a phenomenal find in any kind of survival situation. I mentioned the black bears in there, but I also want to firmly mention that the overriding fear that people have of bears, it doesn't baffle me. I understand why it's there because of media. But it definitely disappoints me and dismays me. It's not necessary. What's important is you understand and learn how to be in predator territory, whether that's black bear or cougar or grizzly bear or lion or tiger. You get the skill, you get the understanding. And when you have that skill set of knowing how to be in predator territory, then the fear drops away quickly. And it drives me crazy that, you know, a good friend of mine, been on his show twice, Joe Rogan, that he'll have on his big game hunters, and they will just spew on and on and on about the man-eating bears and these wolves they're killers. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're just wild animals trying to live out their life. And don't get me started, man. I think so much of that is based on so much fear. I'm not saying they don't attack on rare, exceedingly rare occasions. And I'm not saying that they don't take advantage of what we do as humans when we do stupid things as humans, like leaving out our garbage and our food in that kind of territory. They do, but it's exceedingly rare. And the millions and millions and millions of human hours spent in the wilderness in black bear, grizzly bear territory, and the amount of actual incidents that actually take place, it's minuscule. And so the fear that's brought on by mass media, it's not just the Joe Rogans, it's also local newscasts. A bear was spotted today, and it's like, oh, for goodness sakes, they're here all the time. I get that with my neighbors where I live in Canada. It's like, I'll get a text saying, we saw a cougar. Everybody, there's a cougar. It's like, okay, first of all, that was 3 hours ago. And yeah, eastern cougar live in this area. They come through all the time. You're just not seeing them, but they're always around. They probably walk on your deck. So there's my rant over with. You guys have heard me do that rant before. And again, not denying that accidents and incidents don't happen. What I'm suggesting is get the skill, get the knowledge, read Bear Attacks, Their Avoidances and Causes, or Their Causes and Avoidances by Stephen Herrero. Read that. It will make you feel so much better about being in bear territory. I only ever take bear spray if I'm in grizzly territory, nothing if I'm in black bear territory, and a rifle if I'm in polar bear territory. That's how it works. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I can tell you how often I'm in a place and I get told about how great the berries are, or the fishing is, or whatever, and then it's like, well, it's just the wrong time of year. And this is one of those situations where the energy spent gathering food is equaled by the amount of food that we can gather. Be able to sit in a spot like this and have literally thousands of blueberries at our fingertips is a huge bonus, and it'll serve Logan and I really well, putting the odds in our favor by gathering all these berries.
You know where else that can work? With cattails. You never find one cattail. You always find dozens upon dozens, if not thousands.
Right now, while we're stuck here,
But it's got to be the right season.
it's a good thing to do.
Logan is experiencing a survival situation that so far consists of good luck and familiarity. He's at a campsite. We've caught fish. The weather is nice. We have blueberries. If he grows complacent as a result, he won't be of any help to me in effecting better survival when we really need it. It's adversity that has taught me my greatest survival lessons. But how far am I willing to go to get Logan to experience adversity? It's the toughest question any parent has to answer. It's our second day of surviving in Canada's far north. And with our boat motor disabled, we're challenged with the task of paddling many miles to reach a cabin at the other end of the lake. We've caught fish, picked berries, and the weather is in our favor. For now.
The only option we have is to paddle this big tin boat and paddle it actually against the wind, unfortunately. But, you know, that's the way it happens. Probably to the tune of 1,000 stories a summer. Fishermen break down, their boats break down, and you find yourself paddling. In this case, we know the lake's empty. We also know there's other cabins that we might be able to get to along the way. So Logan's just lifted up the motor so it's out of the water. And we're gonna get paddling.
Pushing a tin fishing boat forward with a pair of canoe paddles is not easy. It drives home the importance of every fishing boat having proper oars instead of paddles. For want of a good set of oars, people have died.
There's no reason why we can't fish along the way. I mean, we gotta eat. We got the wind with us for now. That's good. You know, if the wind really picks up, we could use the tarp for a sail.
It's true.
The tin boat represents a way out. The time out on the lake represents relief from mosquitoes and a chance at catching food. And it would seem that the survival winds of fortune are blowing in our direction.
We got a tailwind. Why don't we put the tarp up?
Okay.
Exactly. This works. This'll work. It's going in the right direction. There we go. There we go. Whoa. Yeah. That's easier than paddling. Let's just keep this up and see how far it takes us.
Gotta admit, I have done this very technique on several canoe trips in my life, and it is the most fun when you know how to get a tarp. I mean, you can do it simple like this, a couple of paddles tied up. You can do an elaborate sort of sail design. I've done them all, and even just one person holding up a raincoat catching the wind in a canoe can be so much fun. So, I digress.
Whoa!
Mine's ready.
Yep. Woo! I don't know why a lot of people just seem to be panicky about drinking water out of northern lakes. I don't think you can get water much cleaner than this. We've got to stay hydrated no matter what. And the old trick for not feeling hungry is to keep drinking as much water as possible.
And you've already heard me go on about, the concept of not becoming dehydrated and drinking water, and that there's way too much, kind of like the whole bear-wolf thing, there's way too much fear about what water to drink. You could die of dehydration in a few days. You need to drink water, and people will not drink water because it doesn't look right or it's dirty or whatever. And the reality is, sure, there's giardia out there. And there's nastier diseases if you want to drink downstream from a town in a third world country or a city, for sure. But a mountain stream, out in the wilderness, and if you did get giardia, you're not going to know for 7 to 9 days, and it's going to give you an upset stomach, and you're going to take some Flagyl, and you'll be over it in 48 hours. You're fine. But dehydration will kill you quicker. And I got more to say about that, but I can't remember.
As quickly as our tailwind came up, it stops and we're back to paddling. The fact that the wind is at our backs is another stroke of luck. Unfortunately, we're paddling away from a massive field of berries. Earlier this morning, though, while Logan slept at sunrise, having struggled through the night, I got busy in the berry patch, proving again that proactive survival is the only survival.
Surprise for you this morning. Check it out.
Awesome.
I'm hoping that Logan is understanding now how important it is in a survival situation to never be passive.
Logan, I know we can catch some fish so we can eat. It gives us food. We've got plenty of water. Other than getting a good shelter set up, what more do we need? The reality is we need to travel. We need to get ourselves out of here. And so it becomes a decision Do you stop and fish? Do you spend a lot of time fishing? It's an important decision to make because you spend a lot of calories motoring all the time. And if it's a long, long way, then you got to temper it with getting some food energy along the way.
So you have to think about it. You know, these two fishermen are out there, and maybe their families know they're gone for a week of fishing, and they're in a wonderful cabin and all that. But nobody will know actually at the end of the massive lake system that they were boating, their motor died on them, and they're stuck, and they've got another 6 days, 5 days to go before anybody even begins to think about where are they. See, this is how the scenario can occur. It seems benign and simple enough, but for two fishermen in this situation, it can still be life or death.
We're just gonna take a bit of time to see if we can catch something. If not, we're back to paddling.
Okay. We got one. Fish on. Fish on. Yes, all right. Just a little baby pike. Just a little guy. Well, we've got one. As my dad would say, we wouldn't have starved. And we won't starve tonight.
Back to paddling.
It's fishing for survival now. Everything is kept. You never know when the good luck will end. And after many hours of paddling, our attention turns to sheltering for the night. And Logan is frustrating me by letting me make all the decisions.
See this clearing up here. Let's pull into it and see if it gives.
Kind of like when I took Joe McConnell out and we did the Survivorman fan episode. I want the other person, I want Logan to make the decisions because I know what I'm doing. And I'm going to make decisions based on two things. One, on probably the right thing to do in survival, and number two, the best thing to do as a filmmaker. But I need it shaken up for the sake of filming this. I need Logan to make some decisions, and if he's going to make a bad one, I want to let him do that because it will put us into, unless I think it's going to kill us.
Just any good locations to set up a shelter.
Logan's usual calm and passive personality leaves him content with me picking out a spot. But I need him to think, because two minds are better than one. And 2 days without much food takes its toll on my own ability to think clearly.
Well, I know Logan's counting on me to make a good decision here. And just pick a shelter instead of saying, well, you go for it wherever I want to do it. But all of a sudden I feel pressure because he's got to make it through the night, too. If I don't come up with an answer soon, the night's going to be upon us. Can we shelter here or not? That's the question.
Maybe this is why I've always survived alone. I don't like the added pressure of thinking for Logan's benefit out here as well as mine. I need his help, and I don't feel like I have it.
Now that we stop, I think the day of paddling's wearing me out a bit. Now I'm starting to feel the lack of food. I don't want to let Logan down. I gotta figure this out.
As Logan and I search out a place to shelter for the night, I come up with an idea that I've never tried before.
I just had what might be a stupid idea. I don't know, or it might be an awesome idea. There's a ton of spruce trees here, easily gathered, cut down, small trees, right? And I was looking at the boat and I was thinking, what if we make two beds? No, if you come and look at the boat, put two beds, two spaces, triangle on one end, down at the back end, triangle on the front end, a pole across. We've got the rope, we can tie it all up so it's secure. Drape the tarp over top of that. We basically have a mobile tent at that point.
That's gonna be a very uncomfortable sleep.
I don't think it will be.
Okay, well, think about this. Let's say we move to a new location tomorrow. We're gonna have to take it down, put it in the boat.
Like, I'm just thinking about that. I mean, all we would have to do every night is spend a concentrated hour getting boughs and 5 poles, and we could set it up every single night, and we would be able to sleep in the boat, anchor the boat in a protected little cove, instead of coming in on shore. The only thing we can't have is a fire, but we can have the fire right on shore.
If it was just me, I'd definitely not do that.
You know what? I'll put one bed down, and you try it out. lie on it, and if you think like, oh man, I could sleep like this, great, you know?
Yeah.
Because from my experience, it's not going to be that much more comfortable up on the land.
Logan clearly doesn't like...
I was actually thinking this was a pretty cool idea. Okay, I gotta go change the battery on that GoPro again. Oh man, that GoPro is so hot. The battery is hot to the touch. That is a serious failing, GoPro. Always happens when I try to use a GoPro inside. All right. This I thought was, oops, foot's got to go up. I thought was really a cool idea. And mostly for me, it's a matter of doing things that I've never done before. And I'd never done anything like this before. That's why I was kind of hyped on that. And Logan was just being grumpy, I think. You know, and I'm also double checking. I can't remember if this was an earlier episode that we shot when he had leukemia and we didn't know it, or if it was in part of the last two. And I really can't remember. Oh, now I gotta check the batteries in my... Oh, I'm always struggling with batteries. You're still going? You're still going? Let's go, Luke.
Or at least doesn't think it'll work. But I have to let my own experience take the lead role here. A bough bed is just a bough bed. And it can be a lot of work to build up on the land. The ground here is damp, but the tin boat is solid and dry, so long as we can keep it that way.
And I think what happened was, because I'm tired from all the paddling, because I'm running on lack of food now, I didn't want to just let Logan make a mistake on the decision. Actually, I think in hindsight, well, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. This is a really cool idea. And it is great for filming. And it's like, what if maybe this could work? On the other hand, I should have backed off and just said, Logan, what do you want to do? And then just did what Logan wanted to do and just see how that worked. If it was successful, he'd feel fantastic. If it's a failure, then it's a great lesson learned. But I didn't do that. I played my Survivorman card here because I wanted to do something that I thought was cooler.
Working together can be more efficient at completing the task. One of us gathers, while the other builds.
You put your feet up in here every once in a while, stretch out legs. But I think this can work. Yeah, try it out. Tell me what you think.
It's not that bad.
I'm gonna work on the tarp and get that part ready because I'm seeing clouds come over now.
And just like that, how fast we work becomes imperative, so we can be prepared for the approaching storm in the western sky. In survival, you're always either dealing with weather or preparing for it.
All right. Just some more of this bug spray again. Oh, look at that. That's crazy. Rock and roll. I got a fish to clean.
I can tell when it's something new that I haven't tried before. So with that bug spray, I mean, I knew that it would take a flame, but there I just did it with the little flint striker. So it shows you how lethal bug spray is. You spray it, and with the fumes, just a strike from a flint striker, and whew, it just goes up in flames. That's pretty cool. And you notice how kind of cool the shelter looks. It looks like it should work at this point.
Well, it's just a little guy, but it's food.
There's no reason why Logan can't try to increase our food bounty.
Here we go.
Toss them in the frying pan.
Toss them in the frying pan. Okay, all right. Whoa, don't let him jump. Don't let him jump. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. There we go. Oh, yeah. Sun's going down, and I'm just gonna hope that weather holds out throughout the night. I don't know, I kind of like my new contraption there. I think it looks pretty cool.
Now, that technique right there, I learned over the years, is amazing for cooking pike. You don't like pike, it's too bony, it's hard to clean, all true. But when you do this, it is delicious. So pike is actually an amazingly delicious fish if it's treated right. And this is a great way to do it without having to try to clean the meat off the bones, because it's a very bony fish. It's just going to fall off the bones. It's a pretty awesome way to do it. So that's just water in the pan, nothing more.
Our hopes for a clear night sky are quickly passing as the clouds gather in the west and the wind begins to pick up. It's just giving us enough time to eat our catch.
Don't get any fresher than that. Ah, that's awesome. And no bones.
That doesn't look friendly coming in. We hold still now and wait to see if this shelter was a good idea or not.
This will have to do. That's definitely gonna be rain coming in. I'll be surprised if we don't get hit by that.
Within moments of saying this, the wind picks up with an unforgiving speed and begins to blow our fire into the forest, forcing me to jump to action while Logan holds down the shelter.
It's just starting to rain now, and the wind's picking up.
Oh, let's hold it. No worries, don't panic. Hold on to that car, buddy. Hold on to it. It's right there. Get this fire out.
It was a panic because the wind was seriously blowing that fire, and I could have easily seen it turn into a full-fledged forest fire. So that became the priority over being with Logan and holding down the tarp for obvious reasons.
Go in slow, careful. If we knock it down, we're screwed. Oh, this is a bad idea.
Let's just hold tight.
I forgot this happened, actually.
Are you dry? Yep. Okay, so you're staying dry.
Yep.
All right, you got your rain gear on.
Well, I have half on.
Gee.
No matter what, the reality of all the Survivorman episodes as they happened, it was always when the storms came in that my greatest challenges happened. I mean, you know what, Luke? Show a quick little collage-y, montage-y edit of a bunch of the storms from Survivorman.
In a survival situation, wind is a lockdown. When the wind blows strong and hard, there's not much you can do. Wait it out.
I have to keep telling myself this place has lasted here over 70 years. That it can withstand this windstorm. Strongest winds I've ever been in.
I hear you. Thunder. Mosquitoes. Rain. Very little fire. Well, the cooked banana was good.
I don't know how it's managing to do it, but I've still got my fire going. It's just smoldering underneath all the damp wood. But it's still going. And it's still raining. It's gonna rain a long time, I think.
Without a windbreak from trees, without land features to stop the windy onslaught, without a well-made constructed shelter, being trapped in by the wind and rain in the Arctic is unequaled.
4 hours. It's still raining.
There, see what I mean? It's storms and bad weather gave me drama. You know, the whole idea of all the reality shows that came along, I know I can hear somebody just groan, oh, he's going to talk about that again. But they had to manufacture drama. I didn't have to manufacture drama. And when a storm came in, it was a gift. It was a gift because it was real, you know, a real serious time to deal with this kind of weather, which you didn't see in a lot of the other shows because they just waited till it was nice for filming because they had a crew to film. So they're not going to film in the rain and the storms and all of that. Maybe a little different for Alone, but in all the other stuff. So it was pretty, like on one hand, it was tough to go through, but on the other hand, I always knew through the whole time, like, oh, this is giving me some pretty incredible footage to share.
I don't think we're sleeping much. Well, could be worse. Could be raining. Okay, it's not one of my best ideas. You know what? Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Got a red sky over there. That might be it.
With the worst of the storm past, it's a good idea to take advantage of the lull in the wind and build up our shelter so we can at least try to sleep through the night.
And that was an oversight on my part. Right from the beginning, we should have closed in one end of that shelter with more and more boughs. But, you know, it's now however many days, 48 hours or more into no food, and other than the berries we gathered. So, you know, your energy starts to go. When your energy goes, your brain goes. When your brain goes, you're not thinking of all of the angles, you want that easy out. You want that quick fix. And it looked so cool the way it was. I didn't think about needing to close in the end. And while we were building it, it was beautiful weather. It's like packing for a trip where you're going to go and it's going to be super hot, but it's really cold where you're packing. You take way too many clothes. Or vice versa. It's really hot where you're packing, you're going somewhere cold, you don't bring enough stuff. So beautiful day while we're making the shelter, not thinking about the wind, not thinking about the end of the shelter.
Night, buddy.
This is how we got through the night. Cold and uncomfortable. I don't want to have to do another night like that. This was not the best idea.
What's your plan, Logie? You gonna try and sleep a little longer? Want to leave you sleeping? The tarps are ripped bad.
Logan's not sleeping in the nights very well, so I've got to cut him some slack and let him sleep through the morning.
People get so worried about giardia, beaver fever. That's a misnomer. Giardia is transferred by fecal matter, and it's not just beavers, it's all kinds of animals that will transfer. With giardia, you're really not going to feel the pain until the problems until about 7 days later. And then if you're back in civilization, it's just a couple of pills and you're done with it. But dehydration can knock you down in 3 days. So this is a nice big lake. I have no issues drinking the water straight from the shoreline here.
See? That guy knows what he's talking about.
The lack of a normal supply of food, combined with minimal sleep, is no doubt contributing to Logan's general sluggishness and lethargic state. But I've got to keep us moving.
Yeah, see, even that narration makes me think this was shot. I'd have to check at the end. I'll know when we get to the end and I see the copyright year, that this was shot while Logan had leukemia, not after. What's that?
Yep.
It's pretty clear that the weather's giving us both some forgiveness here. We've got lots of time to deal with things, but yesterday we got caught, so tonight I prefer to get off the water early. And again, we're so fortunate to have the wind.
I'm just going to pause right there. Yeah, I'm going to backpedal. This was filmed while Logan had leukemia and we didn't know it. And I can tell by the sweatshirt that he's wearing. So, which explains, of course, his lethargy too. I was getting on his case about it. I remember now, and I remember feeling pretty bad about it later when we found out the reasoning, but we didn't know it at the time.
At our back, then we can just sort of drift with this wind, and Logan can fish. He has more luck than I do anyway. Fishing just takes on such a whole different meaning when you have to catch fish to survive. And so far, nothing. Today, we'll start early to try and find a good shelter location.
I'm not trying to be picky or anything. I'm just trying to find us a decent place to set up a shelter and be protected from storms. You'd also have some wind, keep the bugs down. Bugs were pretty bad last night. And we're striking out here. There's no flat ground. Fortunately, because there's so much daylight, can afford to be a little picky.
I should point out here, we did this up in the Wabakimi area, and if you weren't aware, my very first documentary film that I ever made was called Snowshoes in Solitude. And it's about a year spent living in the Wabakimi wilderness with my then wife, Sue, Logan's mom. And it won... There goes GoPro, stealing the thunder again. Ugh. Overheating. Where was I? It won a bunch of awards and is a beautiful, beautiful documentary, in my opinion. I think it still holds up to this day. If you want to see a great documentary film about two people living in the wilderness for an entire year, doing it ostensibly as if it was 500 years ago, for a period of time anyway, check that film out. And it's on this YouTube channel, of course. You can search for it. Snowshoes and Solitude, shot up in this area.
I also don't want to leave it so late we run out of time.
Miles later, a beach that looks great at first offers up no better shelter.
Sand looks really nice, but right in behind, in here, this is just all spruce bog. If that wind dies down and it gets dark, if there are mosquitoes, this is where they're going to be.
Anyone who has ever canoe camped knows how difficult it can be just to find one small spot to pull up on within many miles of shoreline. This is why people have tended to congregate in the same areas on shorelines for thousands of years. We go to, and we build, where it makes sense to do so. At least along the way, Logan and I can still try for food.
Now, to put a finer point on that, where would those better places be? Well, basically, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, New York. These are the places, Boston, these are the places where the original indigenous cultures would have existed. Not in some far out, deep in the woods, bug-infested area. No, they actually lived where we live now. because that's what makes the most sense. Where the fishing is, where the hunting is, where the gathering is. Of course, there was a lot of traveling around, but they didn't hole up in bug-infested, no-wind swamps and get eaten alive. That's just stupid. So that's the true reality of where indigenous cultures existed before we came here. They existed pretty much where we have all of our major cities, because that's where it makes the most sense to be.
It's walleye. It's walleye. Bring him in. Bring him in. Bring him in. Come on. Come on. Bring him in. Bring it. Yeah! That's dinner. Put him in the water. Keep him fresh. All right, so there we go. That's what we've been trying to do. We've just been drifting. We're looking at a place to set up our shelter, sort of going along the shoreline just really slow. We're paddling. There's no wind here today, so it's like kind of being stuck in the freshwater doldrums. And there we go. Logan just caught us dinner perfectly. Nice job, buddy.
So we have something to eat again tonight. It's been hours of paddling with our fishing lines trolling in the water without a single hit from a fish, and with no wind to push us forward either. So this fish is a huge boost to our morale. But we're still plagued with the search for a decent spot to pull ashore and spend the night.
You want to put in there or over by that stick?
Over by that stick.
Okay.
Still alive. Still very much alive.
Remember to talk to camera, and good luck. Don't forget your cameras.
Yeah. Okay, so since we decided on staying just out in the open tonight, I have to make us a nice bed.
And case in point again, just one more point on this with Logan. I can tell even by the size of his body, but of course by this sweatshirt, that this was while he was unknowingly fighting leukemia in his body, and hence his lethargy. So what a difference that made. I can hear it in his voice now that I listen to this. And yes, he's doing fantastic now. Like 8 or 9 years completely cancer-free and doing wonderful.
I figure that it's not gonna rain because beautiful blue sky right now. So if it does, we've got the tarp nearby, so I can grab that quickly if I need to. In the meantime, I gotta get all these spruce boughs up and start weaving them into a bed. I'm just kind of shoving them into the dirt here, trying to make it as flat, low as possible. Get rid of some of these rocks. I'm just trying to weave all of these spruce boughs in together. It's the best way to keep the heat in and make it nice and comfy.
We've been able to film Logan catching a walleye, which is great, so that gave us dinner.
I'm just going to interrupt there and say, the idea of comfort in a survival situation is actually incredibly important. Comfort means you are able to sleep. And sleep is vital. It's just absolutely vital. I've harped on it before, but you must find a way to get your sleep in a survival situation, even if that means sleeping in the middle of the day. You've got to do it. When you have a lack of sleep, you make awful decisions.
But then I decided to match him. 2 perfect walleye.
I need my sleep, and I haven't been getting it, so I'm hoping this is gonna be a better idea than sleeping in a tin can. Unfortunately, I'm not just making this bed for me. My dad has to fit on it too, which means that I have to listen to him snore all night. Which really sucks.
How's it going?
Good.
Well, that's looking comfortable. I've got the fish all cleaned up and ready to go,
Awesome.
so I'm gonna clear a little space over there and get a fire going.
What we have in our favor is the good weather. Without it, this would be a much different story.
Logan's pretty much hung up on fishing, so I'm gonna be the one to get the fire going again tonight. And unfortunately now I'm all out of that bug spray. That was kind of the magic ingredient, but I still have paper towel here. What I'm gonna do is sort of rip it up in the middle here. Get it down in there and get it so the fluffy part, the part that I just ripped up, will catch a spark. I wanna get cooking that fish.
And now why I'm doing this method really was to be able to show you that it's possible. And ripped up, fluffy, paper towel, and then just a spark from a flint striker, and you can get a fire going. And when you can do things like that, you can save your matches. You can save your lighter fuel. So it's these alternative ways of getting a fire going that enable you to get more fires going later on.
There we go, there we go, there we go. All it took. That's all it took. It just took a spark and a paper towel. And with the paper towel roughed up and made fluffy, I got my flame. Beautiful. It'd be good if tomorrow we pull out the maps, try and figure out where we are in relation to any outpost camps or cabins or anything like that.
That's probably a really good idea.
And see if we can make it to one, because if we get hit with more storms again, well, it's not going to be so pleasant.
You can kind of see how a situation like this would play itself out if you were two anglers lost in this under these circumstances. You know, you don't have a motor, so you're using paddles. You've got to get the fish to eat. You've got plenty of water for drinking. That's fine. And the storms are your greatest challenge at this point, other than trying to find a cabin. And you're going on your memory. Did we pass a cabin? Was there one down in that Narrows area there? You're trying to think, didn't we see a cabin in that bay? Because you're so far away from your original cabin because you've gone fishing, that getting back to it just isn't possible using the paddles. So all of this, to me, paints a very accurate picture of what can happen in a fishing survival situation.
Loons have been singing up a storm, just dancing and playing and calling. Logan's just settling in for the night. I've been able to bring loons into me before by using my harmonica. We'll make it through this night, clear of any rain. So it's an easy sleep under the stars. But now, onwards we go, as the tedium of paddling must continue. Sitting still won't do us any good, no matter how beautiful the area actually is.
And speaking of beauty, I've got to point this out. That night at dusk was the most amazing scene I'd ever experienced in the skies. What happened was, to the west was an incredible sunset. North was the most amazing display of northern lights. To the east was this incredible starscape because it was already dark. And the northern lights went right over our heads to the south. All of this happened at the very same time. I'd never seen anything like it in my entire life. I will probably never again. Truly unbelievable. And if I'm not mistaken, the moon was up, but it was to the south. I think I have that right, because it was all four quadrants of the sky were affected by something amazing. Northern lights, sunset, dark starry scape, and moon behind us. That's what it was. It was breathtaking.
Starting to stink.
You always stink.
Not as bad as your feet, mind you.
How far are we paddling?
Forever.
We're still many miles of paddling until we may come upon one of the cabins on the lake that we can take advantage of. Off camera, Logan and I become a bit testy with each other, brought about no doubt by the tedium. This reality that boredom and tedium can drive you nuts in a survival ordeal is often overlooked, yet it can be very dangerous. If you're alone, you can become depressed and lethargic. If you're not, you can become annoyed and touchy, which is why proactivity lifts the spirits during survival.
So here's the option. There's either about another 8-mile paddle or about 3/4 of a mile across land.
Let's take the land.
But we'll be leaving the boat, right? Now, the reason we're going across land is because there should be a cabin down on that other side.
Yeah.
Wow, I completely forgot this happened.
Let's take the risk then and leave the boat.
Okay, let's find a place to land.
But you know, it's a realistic position to be put in. You're looking at the maps. You know, we're fishermen, so we've got maps of the area, and you're thinking, man, why don't we just go over land and we can get to a cabin? And that's an intriguing way to carry out survival. I completely forgot this happened.
This move, however, is risky. It can be dangerous to travel across even as little as a few hundred yards. But survival is always about calculated risks to make your situation better. Survival is about moving forward. It's about going home.
How about right here?
Sure.
Okay, all we have to do is go in a straight line here. Just keep the sun in one spot on your forehead, and then we'll try and sort of stay straight as we go through.
Okay.
It's the best way without a compass to do this. All we have to do is go up and over land.
3/4 of a mile might not seem like a very long ways, but through the bush, it is.
Don't underestimate how dangerous this decision is. All that has to happen is to get turned around in the thick bush, and then what's hoped to become a short hike becomes a nightmare.
Just watch your footing, too.
Yeah.
I don't want any snapped ankles out here.
One wrong turn, one branch in the eye, and everything changes.
Doesn't help when the clouds come in and obscure the sun.
No. It starts raining, it's not gonna be good.
Now here's a question for you. You're going through the thick bush, and maybe it's a train of people, half a dozen or so. As you walk along, and someone in the front, someone behind. What is it the job of the person walking in the front of somebody else to hold the branches from whacking the person behind them in the face as you go along? Now, the usual answer to that is absolutely, that's what you do. You hold the branches for the person coming along. My answer to that is absolutely not. You do not do that. Let me tell you why. Because 9 times out of 10, the person in front of you is going to hold that branch for you. It's not going to whack you in the face. On the 10th time, they're either going to slip or they're going to forget, and it's going to be innocent. And that one branch could take your eye out. It's the whack right into your open eye because you've grown used to all of the branches being held for you. No, when you walk in a straight line with a group of people, you maintain your own safety. You look after your own face, your own legs, your own feet, your own arms. Wherever you're walking, you look after yourself. Do not trust the person in front of you. At least trust them, but don't rely on them. That's key. So I often will tell people, you know, sure, hold the branches for the person behind you, but let them know you're doing it. Like, say it every time, got the branch, you know, and at least they know. But to make it a thing that you just expect to happen, big mistake. Huge.
Let's just keep going. Now, the calories are burning up fast. This is an exhaustive undertaking, fraught with the potential for accidents and missteps. It would have been safer to simply keep paddling, but the tediousness of that was taking its toll, and it was time to make a change. Let's just hope it was the right change to make. Because right about now, it feels like the forest is closing in on us. An all too familiar feeling in a survival ordeal. Out here, it's not overly dramatic to point out that one wrong turn could put us somewhere where we will never be seen again.
And I want to point out, too, that when I did this with Joseph McConnell for the fan episode, it took us 7 hours to walk 1 mile. It was so thick.
You know what? It looks like it's thinning out up ahead. If that's the case, we may be at the lake.
Ow! Hey, you know what? I see water. We're at the other side. Woo. You want to look around to the right? Yeah. All right. Hey, dude, rehydrate yourself, eh? Get a bunch of water into you. That was a tough hike. There's nothing on this side. Shoot. See, we know there's a cabin on this side of the point we just walked all the way across. Just don't know if we've hit to the left or to the right. What I did try to do was err us on the side of being too far to one direction. It's an old trick with compass that you can do as well. And basically, you know you want to go in a straight line, but instead you on purpose go too far to the left, so when you hit the shore, you'll look to the right, and that's where your thing should be. And we tried that for this, but I definitely don't see anything to the left. Hey, there it is. Salvation. So this has really paid off. One thing I can almost guarantee is that the cabin will not be locked. Nobody locks cabins in the north, ever. That's just mean. Okay, this is huge for Logan and I, so I don't care what's inside that cabin. It's just gonna be good to get up in there for tonight. Wow, huge, huge bonus. Incredible. But you know what? This was the way of the north. Little trappers' cabins, and in this case, this is a fishing lodge. You can see the doors just left open. So it looks like they've been taking care of the place.
Yeah, it looks nice.
We stay here, we light a signal fire tomorrow, and we wait for plane rescue.
So the one thing we did actually bring with us from the boat as well was the saw.
I'm just going to stop it right there. Again, I forgot that this was part of this this survival expedition, was finding this resort. Well, seeing it on the map and then being able to make our way to it. Because as I've said before, I love when I can include this in a survival story. I did it in Norway, twice in Norway actually. Labrador was a spot. Just this concept that, you know, you might be in a dire survival situation, but you also might find yourself a cabin of some sort, some building structure you can break into, or that's already open that you can utilize. And after all these years, I'd forgotten that we did this while we were out there in Wabakimi, and that it works so well, and I'm glad to see it because I love the story that tells, because that too is a part of a lot of survival stories, is finding a structure that can save your ass.
So it just fit nicely in the day pack, so I thought I'd bring it along. So that's gonna help me to take down this tree a lot easier than using my knife.
We've decided to build what I would consider to be a classic signal fire with 3 green trees. More than anything, I simply want Logan to learn this process, to grasp the concept of a fast lighting and thick smoking fire to be used for rescue.
Some of you may recall that I did that on the first and second episode that I ever shot. They were the pilots. You can check those out, the original 2 pilots for Survivorman. I did this kind of signal fire, and it does work. But I learned a big lesson in the second one, and that was that, you know, you don't need 3 of them. 3 fires in a triangle. That's the epic thing that you're taught. You just need 1. If planes are looking for you, 1 fire is all you need to spend the energy on. They'll find that, and that's all you really should put your energy on. And if you have a fire like that burning out in the middle of a frozen lake, they're going to land even if they weren't looking for you, because they know something's up.
That should hopefully be enough to get a nice good signal fire going and get out of here.
Okay.
I'm gonna weave these back in here. Make the platform.
We've shoved birch bark and even rubber and plastic from the camp inside the branches to help make the smoke thick. It's not very environmentally conscious, but this is about survival.
It looks good.
There we go. Signal fire ready to go.
As first the night, spent this time in comfort, and then the morning passes, we'll sit and wait for the sound of a plane in the far distance.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Camera. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, wait till we see him. Don't light it yet. Just because we hear him doesn't mean anything at this point. Okay, here he is, way over there. Way over there. Okay, light it, light it, light it, light it. Hopefully it'll do its thing. It's coming right this way. He's got to see it.
This is never a guarantee. Of course, this pilot knew to look for us, but often the smoke from a rescue fire can appear to be nothing more than a wisp of swamp steam, and not smoke at all. It takes much training for searchers to become good at spotting lost victims in inaccessible areas and remote forests, and there are other camps in the area, so there's no guarantee that this is the one that we made our way to.
That's him letting us know that he's here, he's coming. When they fly that low like that, he's letting us know he's seen us.
Even though Logan and I put ourselves in this situation, and even though Logan has the advantage of having me, his father, with him to take the lead role and guide him through difficult circumstances, I know that he would still feel the relief in this moment as the plane touches down, because it'll take him back home, back to safety, back to all the comforts and trappings of civilized living, far removed from the reality of being lost in the woods, far from the reality of survival.
All right. So let's just pause that right there because I see my card's about to die on this camera. Thanks very much, everybody. Last of the Survivorman episodes, Survivorman Mongolia, Survivorman and Son, is the next director's commentary that I'm going to do. And for now, yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed that. And on to the next one, man. Hope you enjoyed that. Go watch the real episode now, and we'll talk soon, guys. Here we go. Hand to the camera.